Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrient Ag Solutions, and I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Well, after the incredibly heavy rains we saw over the last week, the weekend actually came in relatively nice. We're looking here at the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation through early in the morning on Monday, and higher atmospheric pressure was certainly in control over parts of the southeast, specifically in the parts of the Carolinas. Now, around that higher atmospheric pressure, look at the precipitation that we did see in parts of the Ohio River Valley, for example, getting back into Texas, Oklahoma, and also a lot of thunderstorm activity down in Florida. But none of that was really tropical in nature, and we're certainly going to give you that longer range tropical update in just a few minutes. But from here, I want to show you what we're expecting over the next 10 days. You can see that a lot of the action is going to be focused in this kind of triangle area I just kind of highlighted right here that will stretch from Texas to the northeast and then back across the Corn Belt. And when you look over here into the parts of Carolinas, it looks as though we see, less precipitation overall across that area. But I'll tell you something, you're still going to get quite a bit of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms across this region in the coming days. We're going to see that almost every single day over the next week will feature something like that. All right. So taking a look at temperatures, the first 14 days of the month. So let's just look at the first half of June 2019. Overall, we don't see the extremes we got last May. And certainly when you compare it to a year ago, we are a little bit cooler than average to start the month. But you're going to see here in a few moments that the temperatures will be warming back up above average. In fact, looked over the next 5 days here. We can see that overall the Carolinas is carrying a slight warm bias, and we will be seeing temperatures this week getting into the upper 80s and lower 90s as we progress through the week. Days 6 through 10, this is where a pretty substantial pattern change kind of takes over, where the flow of the atmosphere gets back into something like this. And as this ridge slowly begins to build back over the eastern part of the country, we're going to see sustained above average temperatures for quite some time across much of the south, much of the east, and certainly the Carolinas. Look at day 6 through 10 here, day 11 through 15. We continue on that warmer bias overall across much of the southeast and the Carolinas here. So that's kind of a near-term outlook for our temperatures. But I want to come back to this discussion about precipitation, because when we look over here at the European model on the left and the U.S. model over here on the right, we can see, well, it looks as though we're just, much less precipitation than the surrounding states. But with plenty of moisture, plenty of heat in the atmosphere, we're still going to be seeing quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, before I show you the details of that, take a look at what this pattern is doing with time here. The cooler bias that the midsection of the country and then the western United States will be dealing with is because of this kind of retrograding trough. Really, it's kind of a combination of a couple things here, but when I say retrograding, I mean moving west. And you can see that let's just take it back. By the time we get through this week and into this weekend, this next weekend, look at the heat that's building here across the south. So you see all of this coming in. While this ridge that's sitting here, this trough, watch where it goes. Back west. And as it goes west on the 24th, 25th, 26th, look at the ridge that builds in. Now, when you see a ridge like this automatically makes us think of much hotter and drier times. Warmer, yes, but drier, I don't think so fully just yet. And you'll see why I say that. I think we're going to continue to see a lot of daily convection, showers and thunderstorms with this ridge. This isn't the big blocking ridge that sets up over the southeast. This ridge is really kind of centered right here in this section of the country rather than really just a big block over the southeast. So it's a much different pattern overall. But it is one that as we progress to the end of June and beginning of July, that keeps the cool weather out west and the heat across parts of the east. Now, in terms of severe weather, getting into some of the details of the short-term forecast, you're going to see in a few minutes that in the day on Monday, why these scattered storms will be moving through near the Carolinas. Much of the severe weather will be to your west and north, though, and you'll see that in a few seconds. As we progress into the day on Tuesday here, so that's the map that's over here on the upper right, we're going to be watching this boundary that's kind of lingering in through this area, so more scattered showers and thunderstorms across the Carolinas in the day on Tuesday. And again, Wednesday, while we see much of the severe weather is going to be kind of back here where there's be this front that's parked right where I just drew it in that area. It's going to be way back here on this side of the Mississippi. We will still see throughout this entire week a chance for scattered showers and storms across the Carolinas. But really, the main severe threat will be outside of North Carolina. But still, some strong thunderstorms are possible. And this is what I mean. I'm going to start this off at 6 a.m. on Monday and just play you forward hour by hour all the way through Tuesday midday. And you can see it. You can see the scattered showers and storms that are popping up across the region here. This is in the evening on Monday. So see them there? This is just a wide open Gulf of Mexico transporting moisture, getting moisture off the Atlantic, so it's coming in like this. And the main frontal boundary is to your north, but the heat, humidity, boy, the atmosphere is going to pop. So you certainly see here as we progress over that time period quite a bit of precip. Now, as we move forward, I want you to pay attention to where the higher atmospheric pressure sets up. It's actually a little bit off the screen here, which means we just keep getting flow like this around it. And because of that, there's going to be a boundary that sits right in through here on which a lot of our heavier rainfall is going to be. But over there in the Carolinas, we're going to be with plenty of moisture. We're going to have plenty of destabilization of the atmosphere and plenty of heat, which means just daily we're going to be watching for the chances of storms as we look through the next week. So watch, that kind of played fast, but you're just going to see this here. This is Monday afternoon, getting into Monday evening, Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon and evening. You can just see across the whole of the southeast, the models are just picking up on daily, widely scattered precip all the way through Thursday, into Friday, and into next weekend. Now, there is a bit of a change by the time we get into next Friday evening into next Saturday. And what I mean is you can kind of see here that the longer range models for next weekend, as this trough develops here and the ridge begins to set up, that we're developing a low pressure center up here, and it's going to spiral around like that. And we might get a break next Friday, getting in through Saturday and Sunday. So you can see next weekend things are relatively calm across much of the Carolinas. But watch, let me get those drawings off there for you. As I take you out here into early next week, the boundary returns and our daily thunderstorm activity goes right back to the way it was. So overall, when you put it together, it's going to look a little drier in these models, but you're going to have every single day a chance for showers and storms, and they will be hit or miss. And that is your next 10 days when you look here over parts of North and South Carolina. So that's the name of the game as we move forward. All right. Talking about tropical weather right now, the National Hurricane Center isn't watching much, which is good. No new tropical activity expected in the next 5 days. Right now, though, we do need to keep in mind that the ocean temperatures just off the southeast and in the Gulf of Mexico are warmer than average, which means as we get into, the end of June and July and August, should systems begin to form, they will certainly be using that very warm water in through that area. Even the part of the main development region is still quite warm as well. And we're still dealing with this El Nino event, but it's primarily going to be what we call a Modoki or Modoki El Nino, where much of the heat, I think, throughout this summer is going to be contained here in the Central Pacific rather than over here in parts of the Eastern Equatorial Pacific. And that's important because that'll affect the wind shear across this region. Certainly in the next couple of weeks, though, we have suppression overall in this region in the upper levels of the atmosphere, which means we aren't expecting too much, not only in the next 5 days, but even in the near-term time period beyond that in terms of tropical activity. It's just the flow of the atmosphere is concentrating everything here and not over, where we're concerned about them in the Atlantic. I want to show you some new long-range data that just came out yesterday. So this is from the European model. This is the 1-month forecast for the month of July. And what we can see overall is that the models are not picking up on any sort of a major dry bias as we progress through the month of July. In fact, they've got quite wet in the periphery around North Carolina. But we do continue to see a flow pattern that we think at times will kind of keep part of the southeast, especially parts of the Carolinas here, warmer than average. So I want to give you that quick, kind of longer term update we get mid-month here from the European model. So that's, again, looking at the month of July. Giving you a little bit of global perspective, remember, when we talk about what's going on around the world, especially over here in parts, getting over here into eastern parts of Asia, we specifically think about these two growing regions in China, which one is north and the other one is south of Beijing, and also what's going on in India. And why I bring that up is because the southern growing region in China is expected over the next 10 days to continue to be dry, so this might have an impact on our global, big grain markets. Meanwhile, to the south of there, on the Mayu front, that's what we call this, it's a monsoonal feature, they may be picking up an additional 4 to 15 inches of rainfall, continuing to cause flooding there. In India, the monsoon is advecting or moving north with time. This is about the time of year that we expect to see that happening. So we're watching that in India. We may really start to see a market story emerge from parts of Europe and Russia. We've been very wet in Central Europe and a lot of severe weather, very wet in parts of the UK, but this is the Black Sea. We watch this region. This is the Russian wheat belt. This is Ukraine, and this is Kazakhstan. And those areas are growing a lot of grain right now. We have to keep a close eye on how they progress because they're showing up in the forecast dry. Also, Turkey, very wet as well. So a bit of a complicated picture globally, but I want to point out high and dry, very warm temperatures as well in this particular section of Europe and Russia. And it's something we need to pay attention to very carefully as it might become a bigger market story with time. But with that international update here, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrient Ag Solutions and the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina want to thank you for your attention. We hope you look forward to our next week's Ag Forecast video. Have a great week, and we will talk to you again soon. Thank you.